Hello. It's another week again. Today is Wanderlust. We'll continue off. We just finished Martine's story last week, and let's see whose story are we gonna continue next. About Martine's ending, I guess it was because of the clothes that I chose for her that made her had that ending. Because I think she pretty much found herself. But, what do you think? Anyway, let's get into the story. We're back on the island. Anakena Beach. Beach. Out of paradise. The waves splashed gently on the white sand as the question Martine heard vibrated in the hot air. Well, did you? Did you find what you were looking for? Tomek asked. She responded with a half smile. Weren't you listening? Who shall we? How about this one? He blushed and tried again. There was a peculiar dynamic between Tomek and Martine. She tried not to show how annoyed she felt by everything he said, and he seemed totally oblivious to her discomfort. What do you think would have happened if you hadn't gone to Thailand? Would you be a different person now? Tomek asked in earnest. Absolutely. I learned so much about other people and cultures, Martin said. I wouldn't really understand it all if I hadn't experienced them firsthand. But how it influenced you? What changed? Tomek asked again. I would be fixated on another part of the world, or maybe other issues entirely if I hadn't gone there, Martin said. I would definitely have different opinions on gender, and my stance would be less nuanced. You don't visit Anakena to discuss worldviews. You go there to sunbathe and swim. And for a while, they did just that. As time passed, Martine seemed lost in her thoughts. I'm tired, she said. I came here for a vacation. Past the last few years, I finished my studies, went alone to Asia for a year, turned my life upside down. It was intense. I gave it all I had and came here to recharge my batteries. She sighed. More like she sighed. Hmm. And I don't know if it was even worth it. Maybe I should have stopped to see the world instead of going as fast as I could, collecting experiences as if they were Pokemon. We all have these moments, said Adelia, looking at her kindly. Give yourself time, let it pass, learn from that experience too. Martine gave her a wry smile. I'd rather make it go away. Centuries before, Chief Hotu Matua had made landfall there with two double-hulled canoes, setting in motion the migration of Polynesian settlers to Rapa Nui. The ruins of his house were still visible nearby. Today, the beach served other purposes. I keep wondering, said Tomek softly, looking at the sea. Why is it that we have to go on a journey to find our place in life? Why can't we do it at home? The day was too beautiful for a heavy conversation, so nobody answered. They just lay there, basking in the sun. Chapter 2. Oh, still Martine's story. Oh, we can choose other people's stories now. Cool. Okay, let's try Tomek's story. Sorry, I'm just looking at what other options. Okay, Tomex it is. Europe. His. Is he the British guy? Oh, so pretty. Back to the beginning. They all agree to meet for dinner at the same time, at the same restaurant where they first met. They ordered enough food to keep them at the table for a few hours. And soon, they were talking about the different restaurants and bars they've been to. I guess I'll never forget the food and drink in Barcelona, Tomek said. But maybe that's because I went there on my first important journey. Oh, Martine exclaimed. Is this the beginning of a story? I bet it is. He made a funny gesture, as though he was surprised it was his turn already. What I'm about to tell you might seem like a love story, but it isn't. Well, not a conventional one, at least. It started and ended in Barcelona. Mhm. Mhm. Taking a while to load. Oh. Hero. It's not a love story. June 17, 11:45 p.m., Barcelona. So tell me, why are you afraid of traveling? She looked at me over her drink, a playful challenge in her eyes. It's not fear, I smiled back. I just like living where I lived. I don't see a point forcing myself outside my comfort zone. And it was true. Getting here from Warsaw was a nightmare. The gut wrenching fear of flying, the crowded bus from the airport, the unknown language. And yet, traveling suits you, she laughed. Under the table, her foot touched my cuff. Obviously, it's the city that suits us both. We clink glasses. Come here for a second. She took out her ridiculous Polaroid camera and took a picture of us. I'm having such a good time. I felt lightheaded. The city was making me do things I wouldn't normally do. I'd only known her for half a day. She had asked me to take her picture in front of Sagrada Familia. Then we started talking and walking together. And suddenly, here we were, lost in Barcelona, having the time of our lives. Drinks in our hands, sitting at a table on the sidewalk, the hot, balmy air clinging to us, the night full of music. I went to get us another drink. When I returned, she was gone. There was only the picture of us left on the empty table. She written something on the back. Next year, same place, same time. XXX. So, how's your holiday so far? Asked Magda. She was sitting across from me in the uncharacteristic cafe we always met at, sipping her latte occasionally as she told me about her kids, job, and marriage. It seemed like it was my turn to entertain her now. Great, I smiled. I've been going on long walks, reading, catching up on some books and TV series, playing some games from my pile of shame. Oh, and look what I found. I took out the faded Polaroid with the handwritten message. Next year, same place, same time, XXX. You're impossible, Magda rolled her eyes. You had some mysterious romantic date that people only dream of. And you just went back to your life like nothing ever happened. I bet the poor girl's waiting for you to do something. All right, give me a break. I interrupted before she gained momentum. I should really give Magda a different voice. I'm one step ahead of you, I smiled. Just wait and see. What are you going to do? I took a deep breath. I'm going to Barcelona, I announced and enjoyed her shocked expression. Later at home, I'm going to Barcelona, I repeated, looking at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Piece of cake! It was already Friday afternoon. I had to be in the bar by Sunday night at the latest. But I was confident about the plan I had. But first, I had to plan my route and decide whether to go by car, bus, or train. Flying might seem like the obvious choice, but I really didn't like being up in the air. If I had the whole of Europe to cross, I might as well enjoy the views. I had to pack, book somewhere to stay in Barcelona, and generally prepare for the unexpected. I wasn't sure if I had everything I needed, but if I hurried with the planning, I'll still have time to go shopping. I checked my bank account and decided that I could spend about 500 euros on the whole trip. That should be enough to get to Barcelona, book a hotel, buy some food, see the city, and take her somewhere nice. I took out a map and started planning. Oh, oh, hi, sanitary truck for following me. Let's see. What shall he take? I think train's a good one. Paris, Barcelona. Let's see, what should I pack? Is this everything in? Oh. 29 hours. Would he be arrived? I took a closer look at the route. There were lots of things to consider: price, travel time, comfort, accommodation in Barcelona. The train departed from Warsaw on Saturday at 5:55 a.m. and arrived in Barcelona Sands on Sunday at 11:21 a.m. I'd have to change trains 4 times. In Berlin, Karlsruhe, Paris, and Toulouse. Toulouse? Huh. But by bus it would be even longer. And he doesn't like to take plane. I think this should be okay. The best option looked like an Interrail ticket that covered all the trains in Europe. I had to pay extra for the express from Warsaw to the Polish border, but the prices were still only 103 euros. I decided I'll go by train and bought the Interrail ticket. I had to say, I was impressed by how efficiently I'd planned the journey. It was time to go. Into the morning sun. For years, I'd avoided Warsaw Central Station. It still existed in my memory as a confusing maze of underground passages full of second-hand bookstores, the sickly sweet mixture of sweat and not quite Chinese food, and suspicious-looking shops selling cheap, useless junk. That was all gone now, replaced by spiced lattes, chain restaurants, and electronics displays. I hurried to my platform, ready to begin the journey of my life. The train was already there, quietly waiting for the passengers. As I was getting to my seat, I heard someone call my name. If I'd known we could book seats in the same compartment, it was Magda, loud and direct as always. She was on her way to visit her family in Poznan. I didn't think you had it in you, she said. Looking at my travel gear, I shrugged, not sure if I should feel proud of myself or embarrassed. In a good way, I mean, she insisted. I'm so proud of you for taking a leap of faith and doing something so... She paused and looked at me. Adventurous! But this date in Barcelona, do you think it'll really happen? That was a good question. For a whole year, I've done everything to forget about that night. But when the time came, I just dropped everything, packed my bags, and here I was. What was I counting on? I couldn't answer the question. Logically, I knew it was madness, but I felt like I just had to go. I guessed I'll figure it out as I went. So there I was, on my way to Barcelona, and there was no going back. In a day, I knew how it would end. I had a good feeling about it at all. Oh, sorry. I had a good feeling about it all. I had it all planned. The journey would be full of new experiences, and my goal was beautiful Barcelona. Be safe and have fun. Don't forget to send me a postcard. Magda patted me on the shoulder. The train shot out of the pitch black tunnel into the morning sun. My journey had begun. The world outside. Familiar Warsaw suburbs disappeared in the distance. Green plains roll past outside the window, dotted here and there by a house or village. A bird of prey soared high in the sky. Near the tracks, there were industrial buildings, derelict and overrun with weeds. A distant river shone in the sun. I looked away. The smell of manure was strong enough to reach inside the train. We went through a small train station. Traveling so quickly, I wasn't even able to catch its name. Yellow fields were dotted with bales of hay. I was hungry, so I went to the dining car. I found a seat and ordered something. I ate some dumplings. The food was okay. I don't think I should rush. Tickets, please. There are passengers who are always ready for the conductor. They keep their tickets in the inside breast pocket of their jackets, or on the little folding table, or in their excitedly shaking hands. There are passengers who use as much of the conductor's time and energy as possible. They keep their tickets at the bottom of that small bag tucked deep inside that heavy suitcase that they just put up on the rack with the help of their fellow passengers. There are passengers who just reach inside their wallets and present their tickets, the boring one. I had my ticket ready. It had been in my hand since the train left. I presented it to the conductor before she even asked. The picture on her name tag was all smile and charm, a younger and less jaded version of the woman standing in front of me. Reservations for the train from Berlin are not included in your Interrail ticket, she told me indifferently. What should I do? I asked. Buy it from the conductor as soon as you board the next train, she advised. Have a nice journey. She smiled and left. I reached for my phone and soon learned that, apart from the Interrail ticket, I'll have to pay extra for reservations on intercity trains, the TGV, etc. I should have checked that before I left. I put 50 euros aside for the extra cost. I was satisfied. There are passengers who can quickly overcome any obstacle. The world outside. Wind turbines with their wide blades spinning slowly stood out against the cloudy sky. The enormous cheeses of sweet boursin loomed in the distance. The train passed a group of houses in the distance, and I noticed a stork nest perched on a roof. I didn't even notice when we crossed the border. Berlin East. Berlin Ostbahnhof hid under a curved roof of steel and glass. I swiftly disembarked and looked around curiously at the travelers swarming the platforms. Unsure which track my train departed from, I focused on the displays and the announcements. Unfamiliar German words like long, clattering trains were all I saw. I focused on trying to find something that would point me in the right direction. Lost in thought and straining my neck to find some kind of intelligible sign, I let my feet take over the whole walking business. I crashed into her at full speed, knocked her over, and sent her bags flying. She was about my age and dressed practically for travel. Long black hair, pale skin, Asian, Japanese, maybe. Her huge backpack kept tipping her over as she tried to get up. "I'm so sorry, I didn't see you," she huffed. I helped her get up, offering my deepest apologies. Her hands were soft and warm. That was my problem in a nutshell, I thought. I was afraid of talking to strangers, even when they were so striking. I felt like I was standing too close to her. Not breaking eye contact, I picked up her bag. When she reached to take it from my hand, she winced in pain, and I noticed she was limping. No, don't worry." She saw the look on my face. "My ankle was already twisted. I tripped this morning in the shower." "Where are you going?" I asked, caught somewhere between small talk and curiosity. "Warsaw," she answered, then looked alarmed when she saw the nearest display. "Sorry, I have to hurry." She refastened her huge backpack and started limping towards the stair. Shall I help her? Shall I? "Wait, I'll help you." I ran after her. We had to hobble down one flight of stairs and up another, but I took the bags and she grabbed the handrail. We eventually managed to find her train and get her on board. "Have a nice journey." She leaned out of the window smiling. "Have a nice day in Warsaw." I waved and ran to catch my train. I was still tired and my muscles hurt after all the heavy lifting. It was no wonder that when I arrived, sweating and out of breath, my platform was already empty. Buying the Interrail ticket was a great idea. I like the flexibility. I look for a connection. Luckily, there was a train from Berlin. Hot Bahnhof to Paris that left in an hour. This time, I actually caught the train. I was back on track, at least for now. Views from the train. In the middle of another field, there was a single withered tree. With a piercing blare, another train passed us. A huge, heavy woman, sweating in the heat, sat across from me. She noticed me staring but said nothing. Then when a snack cart passed our compartment, the big lady bought a bag of chips and 2 chocolate bars. She ate with grim determination, efficiently and without pleasure. Then she fell asleep, snoring from time to time. My thoughts scattered. On the train, asleep. Before I knew it, I was dreaming. We met and I hugged her. "I missed you," she whispered. I was asked for a ticket, but a dog ate it. Her skin was smooth and hot against the palm of my hand. I was lost in Barcelona, sat at a table on the sidewalk. "Where are we going?" she asked from the seat next to me. "To meet you," I answered. The naked lady sitting in front of me fed me soup. I woke up. Dusseldorf, lost in thoughts. The station was huge and crowded with people. I didn't have a lot of time, but it was my third change already. I was starting to get the hang of it now. Time was a funny thing when you traveled, especially at train stations. Sometimes it was fast, sometimes it was slow. Let's see. Sometimes it was slow. It moved differently there. In small towns that people wanted to escape from, it was still slow. But Dusseldorf was different. All the buzz, all the people gave me the energy and hope I needed to plow on with my journey. I merged into the current of the crowd. 1 second, I was surrounded by kids in yellow caps, a school trip, and the next, the familiar throng of travelers was around me again. Lovers, friends, families, lone wolves, busy people on business trips. I was alone, a stranger in their midst. It gave me a sense of freedom. I could do anything, go anywhere, be anyone. I headed toward my platform. As I made my way along a corridor, I saw one of the kids in the yellow caps. He was 14, maybe 15 years old, and trying not to look panicked. But he probably was. His yellow flock was nowhere to be seen, and the phone in his hand looked dead. I asked if I could help. "Hey, is everything okay?" Yeah," he said, obviously lying, a hint of anger in his eyes. At himself, at the world, and at me for noticing his weakness. It was tough being a teenager. I don't know. Okay then, I'll leave you to your business. I couldn't do anything else for him. As I walked onto the platform, I noticed something on the ground. A set of keys with a shoe-shaped keychain. They look like they might be someone's house keys. Someone Someone is going to have an unpleasant trip home. Maybe I should take them to the info point. Before I managed to finish my thought, I heard my phone ring. It was Magda. I picked up hesitantly. Hi, I said, a little resigned, but at the same time, strangely happy. Magda was tiring at times with all her enthusiasm, but she was a friend and a familiar voice in an unfamiliar city. Hey, just wanted to check in on you, see how you are? She answered. It felt good knowing that someone cared. Thanks for thinking of me, but I can't really talk right now. I'm between trains in Dusseldorf. I found these keys and I stopped mid-sentence, realizing that I didn't really know what to do with the damn things. Wait, seriously? You're in Dusseldorf? What happened? Sorry, Magda, but I can't talk right now. I'll get you that postcard you wanted. I will grab a beer when I get back, okay? For a moment, there was silence. Wow, she said slowly. I don't know what's gotten into you, but it's a good change. Really good. I'm happy for you. For once, she sounded serious. And for some reason, that threw me off balance. I was thinking about my journey. So far, everything was going great. After spending practically a whole day in transit, I was feeling fine. I was still amazed that I dared to go on this trip. So, how was I feeling without my safety net? I was doing okay. I'd already managed to I'd already managed to catch up on all the lost sleep, and it felt great. Some of the dreams were quite nice too. At least, the ones I remembered. I was on a trip to Barcelona to have a mysterious date. I'd left all my daily troubles behind, and adventure awaited. I looked at the keys in my hand. I didn't have time to look for stuff and explain how I'd got them. I left them on a bench. Maybe the owner would come back. As the train moved out of the station, I was still lost in my thoughts. The train passed an old industrial plant that was almost completely ruined. It reminded me of an abandoned castle. At a crossing, a long line of cars was waiting for us to pass. I read a paranormal mystery book. The heroes were a wizard detective and a feisty policewoman. They were solving a series of brutal crimes. I suspected werewolves were involved. The tension between the main characters was fascinating. She liked him, but he was cursed. I put down the book and looked outside. We passed another small tourist village. Funny how they look different in every country, but in a way, they're always the same. In the distance, I saw a city covered by a blanket of smog. The tracks went through a bigger city, a blip in what was generally a monotone landscape of green fields and idyllic towns. I felt peaceful, slowly falling asleep. Dreams came as soon as I closed my eyes. The valleys of her skin, a nipple like a boulder, hair like a forest. She's not who you think she is. My friend sipped her coffee. Planes gave way to graffiti covered brick and concrete as the train arrived in Paris. I woke up. A night in Paris. The first thing I learned was that the metro service were on strike. When I finally emerged from the belly of Gare du Nord, it was almost 10:30 p.m. My train to Barcelona was departing from Gare de Lyon a few minutes after 7 the following morning. Despite the Parisian nightlife calling to me, I just wanted to get some sleep. Frankly sleeping, I had no idea how to spend the night. I looked around curiously. I've never been in Paris before. What I saw was like every other European city near a train station at night. Lots of traffic and pedestrians. A few homeless people, some nice buildings, and graffiti on the walls. Across the street, there was a late night bar with a taxi stand nearby. I was hungry, so I went to the bar across the street. I ordered some finger food because it was all they had. And it was surprisingly good. Or maybe that was my empty stomach talking. I called the taxi and asked the driver to head toward Gare de Lyon. The driver tried to start a conversation, but I couldn't speak French. It was a shame because she seemed like an interesting lady. I tried not to fall asleep. I tried not to fall asleep as I was lulled by the rhythm of the passing lights. We drove through the Place de la République, full of lights and people having fun. I tried not to fall asleep even though I was tired. Oops. Then we turned onto a white boulevard that was boulevard that was bordered by intimate little parks and squares. I enjoyed the views, strangely enchanted by the city outside. The taxi eventually slowed down as we drove along a narrow, cobbled street near the train station. I asked the driver to stop, paid, and decided to continue on foot. Gare de Lyon looked imposing. Over a century old, it looked very grand with its clock tower, large windows, and sculptures nestled on its walls like giant pigeons. Its famous restaurant, named after the train of the same name, was already closed, as was the supermarket, tourist information, and basically everything else. The halls echo with the hurried steps of the day's last passengers. The floor looked cold and uninviting, but I could try and sleep on one of the benches. I decided to sleep here, and after a while, I drifted off on the hut bench, hugging my bag. Someone shook my arm and woke me up. A security guard was explaining something to me in French, pointing at the doors. I picked up my bag and went. I roamed the streets like a zombie, half asleep. In front of the hostel, I saw a group of young people laughing, speaking a mix of languages, drinking beer and smoking. The air smelled of weed. I waved to them and asked the receptionist for a place to sleep. They only had a bed in an 8-person room for 10 euros. I took the bed. I was too tired to look for anything else. When I came back from the showers, I saw that the party had moved indoors. People were sitting in the corridor, and one guy was blocking the door to my room. When he saw me, he offered me a beer. "Come on, join us. You look like you're in just the right mood." He lit a joint and blew out a cloud of smoke. "I'm Matt, by the way." I took the beer, but turned down the joint. "So, what are we talking about?" I sat down and looked at my company for the evening. Apart from Matt, who I learned was a producer in some tech company, there was Paul, who was about to get married in a few days, and Heinrich, a mild-looking, balding guy, and the oldest of the bunch. We talk about movies, games, and books, about places we've been to and places we wanted to visit. Someone started playing music videos. They couldn't believe the others didn't know. I think it was me. The more I drank, the better I felt, and I tried to make friends with everyone. "I have to break up with her," Paul sobbed. "We're supposed to get married in a week, and I'm too scared to do it. I like my life. I don't want to change. Not yet." "I understand what you're going through, man." Let's do it again. "I understand what you're going through, man." I felt deeply moved by his story. Maybe it was too close to home, but I felt like I should say something. "You're not unique, you know," I tried to state it gently. "Just take a look at me." I told him my story. We stared at the smoke for a long time. Finally, I went to bed. Surrounded by strangers, I slept like a baby. In the morning, after a nice walk and an early breakfast at the station, I boarded the train. Next stop, Barcelona. The world outside. The Alps look calm, peaceful, and majestic, with their green hills basking in the sun. In the distance, I saw some industrial buildings with brightly colored trucks in the parking lot. I saw a lone farm surrounded by flat fields. The stone in the old farm buildings seemed to tremble as the train sped past. Tall trees stuck in a line like soldiers, dark against the bright sky. Lost in thoughts. For the people living in the villages we passed, I was invisible. I was invisible. Just another passenger on a distant train. After a while, I noticed that one particular thought kept coming back again and again. Leaving Paris. From time to time, I found myself reminiscing about my journey, and I kept coming back to how unexpected and improbable this whole trip actually was. When I left Warsaw, I had a schedule, a spending plan, and everything seemed easy. But was missing my train in Berlin really part of the plan? Suddenly, I realized how fragile plans really were. Why did I need the trip to go smoothly? The girl from Barcelona was the reason I'd come on this trip. Or so I told myself. But I hardly knew her. We'd spent one evening together. That's all. And yet, here I was, so far from home. I needed to meet her. I felt it more than ever. The memories of our evening together were the brightest point in my life. I felt like she completed me. I just hoped the rest of the trip would go as intended. The train moved on into the future. From the train, I saw the backstage of the world. Everyone out there was facing away from the tracks. They didn't know that I was the hero of my own story. My thoughts drifted back to Barcelona, to the meeting 1 year ago. I didn't even ask what her name was. How did I miss that? The way she looked at me, her fire and emotion. Our meeting was a complete coincidence, but it had such a big impact on my life. I remembered her body pressing against mine when we took that picture. One evening 1 year ago, and it was enough for me to drop everything and just go to meet her. I was proud of myself that I stepped out of my comfort zone for this trip. I could still remember her smile, part tease, part promise. I remember we drank cava, a local sparkling white wine. I knew she'll be waiting for me I remember we walked the streets of Barcelona, holding hands and talking and laughing. I look around. I've been lost in my thoughts for too long. Views from the train. Strands of mist hung above the fields, strangely cozy from a distance. We passed a group of houses and I saw children playing outside. A lone transmission tower stood in the middle of a field like a giant scarecrow. Kids wave at the passing train. I waved back. A distant power plant threw heavy clouds of steam up into the blue sky. The sound of an incoming message got my attention. Spain already? An automated SMS from my provider informed me I was already in Spain. Now I was so close to my destination. I couldn't dodge the elephant in the room anymore. What did I want to get from the evening? Despite all the twists and turns on the way, I felt peaceful. If I made it this far, I'll manage, no matter what the future had in store. I thought about the girl. Was it longing or desire? I missed talking to her and rehearsed potential conversation topics. Books, music, Barcelona, traveling. There was so much to do in Barcelona. I started to plan. I needed to find a place to stay in Barcelona. What else? I wanted to see Barcelona, enjoy the city, and maybe I thought about buying her something nice. So that was my plan. There was so much to do. I just hoped I'll manage to fit it all in before the evening. The train sped toward Barcelona. Outside the window, in the distance, I saw the silhouette of a huge roller coaster. The fields that had accompanied me throughout my journey were getting rockier with every kilometer. We passed all white houses. I wonder what people were doing in the buildings I saw. Most of them were probably working. The train halted and I was woken from my thoughts. Barcelona at last. All the public signs were in Catalan with English translations, and in the smallest print I'd ever seen, also in Spanish. There was no mistaking this city for any other. I was back in Barcelona and I felt peaceful. It was like I'd emerged into the light after years in solitude. I had to find a place to stay. I needed a shower. Let's see. Hostel, hotel. Whoa, this hotel is expensive. Let's pick this then. I check into my hotel. I was tired. And I had a nap. It was already 2:40 p.m. and had to be at the bar at around 11 p.m. this evening. I freshened up and was soon ready to head out into the city. I still had some time to enjoy the city on my own. I could see the famous Sagrada Familia and to get my feet wet at the beach. Then maybe the tourist trap of Las Ramblas. Or I could visit the zoo. Barcelona awaited. Let's see. What's more options? Maybe here? Sagrada Familia. We met in front of the famous basilica. Maybe I should start my search there. Sagrada Familia. The basilica was surrounded by a fence and looked like one great big construction site. There were cranes on top of it, which, strangely enough, looks like parts of the architecture. The building almost looked like an alien spaceship that had landed in the middle of a bustling inner city neighborhood. The thought made me laugh. It really was an outrageous design. I decided to stand in the queue and see what was inside. If the outside was so stunning, the inside must be even better, I thought. I looked at the queue, saw how many people were in it, and looked around for the nearest bar. I was hungry. The bar was long, dark, and smelled of fried food. I ordered a coffee and a bocadillo con jamon. The coffee was good, and the bocadillo was filling. I ate slowly, savoring the Spanish ham. My memory stirred. We met in a long queue to the entrance. The day was hot. The sun was shining, and people were huddled all around me. There was a woman in front of me who lifted up her camera, presumably to catch a better angle of the towers, and took a step back, landing her heel directly in the middle of my sandal-clad foot. "Hey!" I yelped. She turned around. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed. "So sorry. Does it hurt? Can you move your toes? Please, move your toes for me so I can check." I wriggled my toes. She giggled. "Can you take a photo of me?" she asked, pushing her camera into my hands and grabbing me by the elbow to drag me away from the queue. "But," I started to protest. "Oh, come on. Do you really want to go in there? I'm bored to death waiting, and there'll be way too many people. Take a picture of me, and we can come back tomorrow." I agreed and took a photo of her in front of the massive structure. It looked like a giant termite mound covered in beeswax. The structure still looked like a giant termite mound covered in beeswax, at least from one side. It was time to go. The plan to retrace my steps from last year was working. I hoped that if I started from the beginning and took exactly the same route, my brain would recognize some landmarks and I'll be able to work out where our meeting place was. If I remembered correctly, we'd walk toward the zoo. Some memories were coming back. Park Zoologic. It was open during the day. I had mixed feelings about zoos. Part of me loved looking at the animals, but I always suspected that they didn't really enjoy my attention. I got there by taking a tram along a long, high, off-white wall. As I passed palm tree after palm tree and watched the sun beat down on the bustling masses of people outside, I had the feeling I was traveling through a colonial city in South America. I found myself thinking about Colonel Bundia and the ice. Then it hit me. I'd never been to South America. I decided that next time I wanted to see a city on the other side of the Atlantic. Maybe I could even get there by boat. The last time I was here, we came straight from the Sagrada Familia. She said she wanted to see the elephants. In the metro, she told me about how intelligent they were and how, if you didn't disturb them, they could figure out how to use tools. The queue to the zoo was ginormous. I saw her face drop a little. And then the strangest thing happened. Out of nowhere, green parrots started flying above us, fleeting like arrows between one palm tree and next. "Let's follow them," she cried, grabbing my hand and dragging me inside the park. I stood in front of the gates to the zoo. The queue was again ginormous. I walked to the souvenir stand near the gate to the zoo. I bought a plush elephant that had a deep, thoughtful gaze in its beady eyes. I stayed in the park for a little longer. Eventually, I had to leave the elephants and parrots behind. I continued retracing my steps. A sudden breeze brought the salty smell of the sea rushing toward me. Walking the streets and recreating that fateful evening was starting to bear fruit. Barcelona had its own beach, Sand, sunbathing tourists, and romantic restaurants overlooking the water. We might have been there. The beach. It was crowded with people, sunbathing, coming and going from the water, laughing and screaming joyfully. Children were building tall sand castles and pouring water over them. The constructions resembled the Sagrada Familia so much that it stopped me in my tracks. I took a photo. I knew this beach. It was hard to forget. We got here from the zoo, took off our shoes, and waded along the beach in the warm water. I watched our footprints side by side settle in the sand, only to disappear when the next wave came in. We didn't have swimsuits. Since when is that a problem? She teased me, and I couldn't help but laugh. We bought 2 huge plastic glasses of sangria and sipped them as we watched the setting sun. Then we kissed. Her lips tasted of fruit and the sea. I know it sounds like a cliche, but that's how it was. I bought a big postcard with a bunch of photos showing all the tourist attractions in the city. I sent it to Magda, like I said I would. Hi Magda, I wrote. I managed to get here in the end. I'm at the beach. It's so strange but amazing at the same time. You'll love it here. Eventually, I had to go. The sound of the waves gave way to the continuous bustle of La Rambla. All that walking and thinking stirred my memories. La Rambla, the ultimate tourist trap. I was sure we'd walk along it, but which way? I'll have to see it to remember. La Rambla. I stood in front of the Columbus Monument, looking up toward the main street of Barry Gothic, the oldest part of the city. The sun was blasting down, and swamps of sweaty, chatty, slightly sunburned tourists filled La Rambla. Now it's 6:40 p.m. I wonder if Tomek will meet the girl. I will stop here tonight, and we'll see next week if Tomek managed to meet up with the girl or not. I'm looking forward to see how his story ends. See you in next week. Bye.